Last PowerPoint presentation, guys. 3 slides. It's not going to be a big one. So we're going to talk about measuring impacts. Okay, so measuring impacts about human issues, how we have affected things. One way to help guard against the problem is to constantly monitor. Okay, we need to monitor the water supply. I mentioned how I used to go on field trips. All right, one year I took kids on a field trip to a water treatment plant. There's one person at that water treatment plant that is constantly monitoring things. Told you how I used to work for an environmental consultant. One of the things we needed to do was constantly monitor water quality around any type of work that was occurring near waters or waterways. Okay, so monitor means to observe, check, keep track of something for a specific purpose. Okay, monitoring typically occurs before an activity, during an activity, and after an activity when possible. So, for example, if we were monitoring water quality on a pipe crossing, so if a pipe needed to be laid across a stream, okay, well, stream beds are very, very, very delicate for fish spawning and things like that. So, what we would do as a monitoring company is we would have to go out and get some baseline data. We had to go and see what different species of fish were on that area or in that area. We needed to go and check to see what the water quality was like. Going back all to those monitoring things that we talked about in topic 1.2, I believe it was, turbidity, water flow, depth, slope of the streams. We had to monitor all of that before construction even occurred. Okay. Once construction started happening and the pipes started getting laid down, we had to be on site at all times. Okay. We were sort of thought as the bad guys, the companies that were laying the pipe and whatnot. They didn't want us there. They were really careful whenever we were watching because if something bad happened, they could potentially get shut down. In reality, we were working with them. We didn't want it to happen. We wanted them to continue laying the pipe because we wanted to be employed. If we didn't have these companies laying down the pipeline and whatnot, they would have no need for us to do that monitoring. So we wanted to make sure the fish and everything were safe and fine, but we also wanted to make sure that the job was successful. Then the last thing was after it was all done and laid, we had to go back afterwards to make sure there was no long-term effects to the actual construction. As well, we needed to make sure things were going back to the way they were. So measuring the impacts. Okay? Unfortunately, a lot of times this doesn't happen. You don't get that opportunity to do beforehand because if you get an oil spill, for example, you may have some past history or some past data on what was there before, but in many cases, you may not. So you have to monitor what happens right at that moment, and then you have to continue to monitor, in some cases, for many, many years after the accident or the occurrence has happened. Okay, so examples of monitoring to protect water quality. So water technicians, they measure for chemicals, organisms in the water, observe how it looks, how it smells, all those things back to topic 1. We had to monitor all of that. Okay. They also had to monitor water to protect the environment and develop technologies to help protect the environment even further. And this is happening all the time. This is occurring all the time. There's that one YouTube video of those Australians that built a water skimmer that goes around and collects the plastic and things like that that's in the ocean. Totally cool. I think that's totally awesome. Okay, so ongoing monitoring helps scientists observe any changes. That leads to this. Okay, so all of those science and technology and the science and the technology, it's all there to go and solve all these environmental problems. Okay, it's there. There's no arguing it. There's maybe some people arguing against it, saying it's not needed, but science and technology is there. We know what needs to be done to reduce issues on the environment, environmental issues. But is that all that is needed? Think about everything that's going on right now in the world. Is that all that's needed? We have the technology to solve these problems. Why are they still there? Why are the problems not solved? There's an excellent example in the textbook about the Thames River. There will be quiz questions on it. I highly recommend you read through page 403 for the answer to this question, but I'm also going to talk about it a little bit. The Thames River is a very popular river in England that many years ago it was actually extremely, extremely polluted. Take a look at the picture on the side. That's the Thames River, a more recent picture. Do you think that looks extremely, extremely polluted? Okay, it doesn't. It's nice and clean. There's fish there now. People are boating. But back in the olden days, people were throwing their waste and toilet water and uh, stuff, pollution from factories and whatnot, was all getting washed into the river. It wasn't uncommon to see dead animals floating through that river. What do you think led to the the wonderful change that we have here? Okay, we actually are sort of seeing this now in the canals out in Italy, but that's a different story. What actually ended up happening was people obviously started getting sick. It stunk. It was a terrible smell. People would ingest the water, they'd get sick, they die. Okay, so finally the government and the people that lived in the area, they said enough is enough. We need to do something about this. Okay, the science and the technology was there. We knew what was causing the problem. People were throwing all their junk into the river. Okay, the solution: stop doing that. Wow. Okay, but it wasn't until the governments and the people that lived there finally got together and said we need to do something. Once they were able to do it, didn't take very long for the river to get cleaned up. Rivers, the water flows fairly quickly. The water is always flowing. So if they stop throwing junk into the river, eventually that water is going to flow off and the water will eventually get clean. And that's what we ended up by having here. Okay. So it was, oops, sorry, I accidentally paused. Last video, I'm screwing things up. So it was that caused it was the need for government and the need for people to actually want to make this change that led to that change of the water getting cleaned up and water quality improving back to the way it should be. That is it. We did it. We went through every one of these lessons. I hated doing these videos. Okay, great for subplants, great ideas now if I'm ever sick and whatnot. But this was not ideal. It was like death by PowerPoint. I felt I would have much rather been in the classroom with you, having discussions, giving you guys activities, all that kind of stuff. That being said, I'll likely do one more video next week, or maybe I'll post it this week. I don't know, about the final project. Final project is going to be, you guys are going to have to research an aquatic organism and give me some sort of presentation. You guys can record yourself on the presentation. You just do it up as a PowerPoint or Word document. I don't care. Okay. That is going to be the final project and we will be done. Okay. Next week will be the project and the week after we'll be getting those zeros in. If you have zeros now, for the love of all that's holy, get them in so you don't have to worry about it. Okay. I'm also going to hopefully be, well, won't worry about that. All right, if you have any questions, send me an email. You will have a quiz for topic 4 this week. You also will have a quiz for topic 3 this week. Make sure you get those both done. And I will be putting some videos on irrigation and things like that. So very heavy on videos this week. Have a good day, guys.